Welcome to Thrivers Ed, the podcast that's all about giving you the practical, no-nonsense advice you need to level up your life and business. I'm your host, Marcy Rossi, success coach, business strategist, and alcohol-free enthusiast. If you're ready to crush your goals, optimize your productivity, and live your best, most authentic life, then you're in the right place. Each week, we'll dive into topics like the psychology of success, practical strategies to boost your performance, and the unexpected ways living alcohol-free can elevate your life. Whether you're looking to boost your business, improve your health, or simply become a better version of yourself, Thrivers Ed is here to help you do just that. So grab your iced coffee, buckle up, and let's get thriving. Welcome back to another episode of Thrivers Ed. So right now we are in a series about the 5 foundational systems that you need to have a successful business. So the first system we talked about was visibility. So getting visible and actually found by the people who need your services, since you will not make money and will not succeed if no one knows that you exist. The second one is about what happens after that initial conversation. So how to track and follow up with leads so that they don't just fall through the cracks. And today's episode, we are talking about system number 3, and that is what keeps the connection between those two touch points. So visibility is bringing people into your world. Follow up gets that conversation started and helps keep it going. And the email system, so system number 3, is what builds a relationship. It's what keeps you top of mind. It's what allows you to sell, either with hard sells or even just soft sells. And it's what creates that bridge from having just found you to them asking if you guys can work together. Email is where your thought leadership lives. It's where your best stories are told. And it's one of the few places in your business where you can communicate directly with your audience without having to worry about pleasing the algorithm gods or any changes made to the platforms. And when email works really well, it supports those other two systems, right? It supports your visibility and it helps convert the leads that you are now hopefully tracking. So email, I am sure you've heard about the importance of email. I know it feels kind of like an outdated strategy, but the thing is, email still beats social media in every way that matters. You're going to have higher open rates, higher click-throughs, higher conversion. You're going to get in front of a much larger percent of your people with email. So unlike Instagram, you actually own your list. You obviously don't own the individuals on the list, but you own the email addresses in such that they are an asset of your business. So no one's going to shut it down. No one's going to shadow ban you. Like, you have a list of names and that's one of your assets. And so if you have something to say, you can send it straight into their inbox. But this only works if you have a system behind it. We don't want to just randomly send out a newsletter when you happen to think about it or only when you're launching. We want a system that nurtures between all of your launchers, that sells without you sounding like a bro marketer, and that moves people closer to working with you without having to do everything manually. So we're going to take a look at what exactly a system like that could look like. And I have a 4-part system here, and I want to talk about each one of these and why they matter. So number 1 is something you're probably familiar with, and that's a welcome sequence. I know I've talked about it on the show before here and in my blogs, but this is the start of that relationship. So it's not just like a digital handshake, here's your freebie, bye, see you later. This is actually where we start to onboard them into our world. You tell them about who you are, what to expect, how you help them, and how they can take that next step to work with you. So when we do this well, it's not just like a subscriber on your list or another name. It's someone who understands what you're about and actually wants to stick around. Laura Cochler is actually hosting a session called Inbox Income with a 3-part welcome and sales sequence to help do this automatically for you. So that is step 1. We need a strong welcome sequence to make sure people are onboarded into our world appropriately. Again, I have other resources for a strong welcome sequence in the show notes and at Automagic. But moving on to number 2, that's nurture. So we've welcomed them and now we want to maintain that relationship, right? Hopefully we're improving that relationship, but at a very bare minimum, we want to be maintaining that relationship. And here I want to talk about the rhythm for a bit. Because if you want your emails to build a relationship, trust, and ideally sales, you have to show up consistently. And that doesn't mean when you remember or once a month when you're feeling inspired. In my opinion, it means at least once a week. That's the baseline that I want you to be thinking about. And this isn't because I just think that you need more things to put on your to-do list, but your audience can't build a connection with you if you're only checking in every few weeks or once a month, or at least not at a rate that's going to be sustainable for you. Weekly builds familiarity. It builds trust. It keeps you top of mind so that when they're ready, you are the obvious next step. Now, if weekly feels like way too much to add to your plate right now, we have a couple ways to make that easier. The first would be to take a step back and see what else is on your plate and if it's actually going to move the needle as much as an email would. But let's just assume that you have a really stacked plate and it's just going to be really hard to add another thing. One thing that we can do here is to build out an evergreen nurture sequence. So when you have something like this, let's say you've done someone's gone through your welcome sequence and they're now just kind of in your regular newsletter list. When you have an evergreen email sequence, they will then move into that evergreen sequence and they're getting however many emails you've pre-written and scheduled. So instead of every week showing up in front of your computer thinking, what am I going to write today? You can take the time to write 12 emails, over the course of a day or a couple days, get those all scheduled out. And then the next time someone joins your list, you now have 3 months of content that's automatically going to go to their inboxes. There's nothing additional that you need to do at that point. We are allowing the step 1 visibility to help fill that funnel. And then we're nurturing them with this step 3, this nurture sequence, this email sequence. So building out something takes a little bit of time up front, obviously, but then it frees you up every week so that you're not having to constantly think about what else to say. I do think that there's something to be said for that in the moment, like here's what's going on in my life type of email. But if you cannot manage this, if it's just too overwhelming to sit down at your computer once a week and write an email, having an evergreen sequence is going to allow you to develop that conversation and that relationship without having to actively show up every single time. And obviously, there is a session on how to create an evergreen email sequence at the Automagic Summit. I'm going to keep talking about it because I am just so impressed with the sessions that we have coming. I think they're so valuable. It's not just me telling you what to do. You actually get to watch how someone set this up in their own business. And so an evergreen email sequence is one way that you can make sure you're maintaining that rhythm. Now, here is where fear tends to come up. A lot of people are like, isn't that annoying? Like once a week, that's if they even have the time, they're like, people are going to drop off my list. They're going to bail. But showing up is not annoying. It means that you're clearly communicating what it is you have to offer. You're being present with them. You're being available. And honestly, if someone's not interested in what you have to say or what you have to offer, sending fewer emails isn't going to magically change that. Only checking in once every 2 weeks isn't going to be like, yes, this is the kind of person that really gets me and that I want to work with. If they don't want to hear from you, they don't want to hear from you at any rhythm. But if they are interested, they're not annoyed with this. They're waiting for the right moment. They're waiting for that one thing that they need to hear from you so they're ready to take that next step. Now, what's annoying is feeling like you've been forgotten. What's annoying is getting an email from someone that you can't even remember signing up on their list because you downloaded a freebie like last year and all of a sudden they're popping back in your inbox trying to sell you something. What's annoying is having a problem and not having a clear direction of where to go to solve that problem. So don't disappear. Don't overthink this. Pick a rhythm and stick to it. I would love to see you do it once a week. If that's not going to happen, then do something that makes sense, but don't allow your fear of being annoying stop you from serving the people that are waiting to hear from you. Okay, so we have the welcome sequence, we have the nurture sequence. Number 3 is some offer ready moments. So what I don't want is for you to only talk about your offers like in big launches. You can and should bake in some little moments into your nurture emails. It could be something very simple like, yeah, this is something I work with my clients all the time. Do you want support in this area? Click here. Or, hey, if you're stuck with this or struggling with this, here are some ways we can work together. Again, lots of different opportunities we can have here. Another one would actually be the abandoned cart sequence, right? So someone has clearly expressed some interest in an offer that you had and didn't purchase for whatever reason. The dog started barking. They didn't have their credit card on hand. They needed a minute to think about it or talk it through. An abandoned cart sequence is a way to follow up and offer a soft sell of, hey, if you're still thinking about this, here's your link to buy, and maybe even sweeten the pot with a discount. That can be automated, of course. Again, going to show you how to do that with Kajabi at Automagic with one of our amazing session presenters. We also have another one that has a 5-part post sequence sale that's going to increase your overall revenue and retention rates, right? So we had an offer, we made an offer, they took us up on that offer. How do we continue building on that? By providing additional support and services without having to constantly be launching. Number 4 is, obviously, I'm a nerd, you know I'm coming with this, to look at the numbers. So we want to look at the numbers and also use these to make strategic decisions. And by this, I mean like who is clicking a link, who came in through what freebie or one visibility opportunity. We're just giving ourselves some insight into, which people in our list are warm, who might need us to check in. A part of that is, going back to system number 2, right? Following up with people. If we have certain tags and segments with people on our list, we can follow up. Like if you have someone on your list who hasn't opened an email from you in a month or 2, maybe you want to add them to a re-engagement sequence. So maybe you have a particular set of emails that come out that really hope to drive some engagement from this person who hasn't engaged with your content in a while. Another thing that we can do here is to make sure that we're sending the right information to the right people. So when we tag them, we can make sure that we're only putting the right offers in front of someone, right? So we talked about some offer ready moments. Maybe you have an offer suite where one product builds on another, and we can target people who already have that first product. Similarly, we can do the opposite, right? So if we want to promote an offer, let's not tell people that already purchased that thing. This is kind of a pet peeve of mine. It's when I get all these big sale sequences and it's like, okay, but I already have that. I don't really need you filling up my inbox with something that I already have. And that is done through tagging or segmenting or grouping. It really depends on what your service provider calls it. But looking at the data and making strategic decisions from it. Again, one of my favorite pieces here with a simple automation that you can do is tagging people who clicked on a link. So if you're talking about an offer, they click on a link, but then they don't actually purchase, you can tag them with something like interested in XYZ offer. And then that gives you a clear point. The next time you're ready to bring that offer up or to have a launch, you can have a conversation with this person. You already know a little bit about them because they expressed some interest in what it is they're offering. That is valuable information, and that is something that you can use to tailor your future communications with them. So moving into your Thrive in 5 for today, building an email system that's going to work for you. Number 1 is actually something that we didn't cover today, but I think it's really important. I want you to think about the last email that you unsubscribed from, and I want to know why. So was it too frequent? Was it too irrelevant? Was it hard to read? Was it that you actually only just wanted the thing that you signed up on the list for in the first place and you didn't really want to hear anything else from them? And use this insight to improve your next email that you send. So if that email was something that you hadn't heard of, you're like, how did I even end up on that list? That should give you a clue as to how frequency can be really important for your clients, how hearing from you more often is valuable. And actually, I want to go a little bit more down this rabbit hole before I continue the Thrive in 5. If we're talking about building relationships with these emails and getting closer and moving them towards working with you, I want you to start thinking of these people on your list, not as numbers or names or potential leads, but actually like humans in your world. So think of it as your spouse or your partner or your best friend. If that person, if your best friend or your spouse only reached out to you once a month or once every 2 weeks, where would your relationship be right now? Does it annoy you when your best friend checks in with you? Does it bother you when your partner sends you a message from the day telling them that they're thinking about you or they saw something that they thought would be valuable for you? Like, hearing from people that we actually like is not annoying. It's how we keep that relationship going. Because if you're not communicating with that other person, that relationship is going to fail. That is just, communication is just the basis of relationships, end of the story here. So when you're thinking about how frequently someone is emailing you, if it's too frequent, it's because there's a disconnect in how you feel about that other person. If you are getting way too many emails from someone, like just when you sign up for their email list, maybe what that tells you is that when you're developing your welcome sequence, you want to build that relationship first before you start bombarding their inbox with, weekly emails or 3 times a week emails or whatever that ends up looking like. But thinking of these people, the people that are hearing from you, as people that care about you, what frequency makes sense in that context? So that was just a little rabbit hole. I had to go down a little tangent there. So the moral of the story is, why did you unsubscribe from this email? Too frequent, not frequent enough, really hard to read, poor graphics. They used too many GIFs, used not enough GIFs, like whatever that is, and using that insight to play around with the next email that you send. Number 2, okay, I kind of already went down this rabbit hole, but I'm going to do it just a little bit more. Pick a rhythm, and I want a rhythm that pushes you a little bit. If you're doing it once a week, maybe we step that up to twice a week, etc. We want to do something that is going to challenge you a little bit. We're not going to go crazy. If you're going monthly, please don't start sending 3 emails a week. You're going to bombard people who are not used to hearing from you that frequently. But how can we turn it up a little bit and play with the results? If people start unsubscribing like drastically and you're not seeing a commensurate rise in sales from that, you can always turn it back a little bit. But I do want you to challenge yourself in this moment because we're building a relationship and we like to hear from people that we like. It's not annoying. Number 3 is to add a line to your email footer that reminds people how to work with you. So one of the systems we talked about was like kind of slipping in these little offer moments. This is a very simple one. My personal footer right now has, I think, 3 or 4 ways that people can either work with me or engage with me. Like one of the things is to listen to this podcast, right? So it's not a paid offer. It's just, hey, if you want more free support from me, here, come listen to my podcast. If you have that already in your footer, then every email you send, you're at least sneaking in these offer moments. It doesn't have to be this like, you've 10 hours left or only 2 spots left, hurry, buy now. Like you're inviting someone to take that next step if they're ready, and you're making it easy so they don't have to go looking for that opportunity. It's right there in your footer. It can be very simple, right? A PS, want more support? Here's how we can work together. Or like I have in my footer, I have 3, but you could even just have one thing of just whatever that next step is for them that makes the most sense. Number 4 is I want you to create a tag in your email platform. It could be something like clicked this offer or warm lead or, someone who hasn't opened an email in a little while. I'm not going to get into the whole cleaning up your inbox. I think that would be a good episode to have further down the line. But let's just say there's someone who hasn't engaged in a while, but not like massively long. If they haven't opened an email in 6 months, like get them out of there. If they haven't opened an email in a month, maybe we want to try a re-engagement campaign, and that's a way we want to tag people. But just thinking about how we can group the people on our list so that we can send the most relevant information to them at a specific time. And it gives you a really good idea of kind of what's happening with these people. And number 5, if you're emailing weekly or bi-weekly or whatever it is, hopefully weekly at least, you have to have something to say. So I want you to start thinking of client wins, client stories in from your own life, frequent questions that you get asked, like any little tidbits that you can start sprinkling into your emails. And when I say client wins or even your own business wins, this doesn't have to be like, oh, I made $50,000 last month or I signed 100 new clients or something really crazy. Like a win is a win no matter how big or how small. And so let's start acknowledging these, making sure that we're sprinkling them into our content and that you have a place that you can go to so that you don't feel like you're constantly starting from scratch every time you have to send something. So that's your Thrive in 5. I want to make sure that we are treating our email like the really valuable asset that it is. It's not just how we send out that freebie to the persons on our list. It is how we welcome people in. It's how we nurture them between our launches. And it's how we keep this relationship going without you having to necessarily create brand new content every single week or multiple times a week. Your email list is absolutely critical. It is waiting for you to lead. So that was the 3rd foundational system, an email system that both nurtures and sells. Next week, we're going to be talking about curating a client experience, which starts before they ever even pay you, and that continues long after they've been a client of yours. And so until next time, keep thriving.